Esteemed deputies, I will now report to you on behalf of the State Council on the work of the government and ask for your deliberation and approval. I also wish to have comments on my report from members of the National Committee of CPPCC. Let me begin with a review of our work in 2016. In the past year, China's development has faced grave challenges posed by a great many problems and interwoven risks and dangers, both at home and abroad. However, under the strong leadership of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we, the Chinese people, have risen to the challenge and worked hard to press ahead, driving forward sustained, healthy economic and social development. At the 6th plenary session of the 18th Party Central Committee, the core position of General Secretary Xi Jinping was formally affirmed, which reflects the fundamental interests of the party and the Chinese people, and is of crucial and far-reaching significance for ensuring the flourishing and long-term stability of the party and the country. All regions and all government departments have steadily strengthened their consciousness of the need to maintain political integrity, think in big-picture terms, uphold the leadership core, and keep in alignment. Pushing ahead with all-around efforts, we have achieved major progress in building a moderately prosperous society, made important strides in deepening reform, continued to exercise law-based governance, and made further progress in practicing strict party self-governance. And throughout the year, we have accomplished main tasks of the year and targets for economic and social development, and got the 13th Five-Year Plan off to a good start. The economy has registered a slower but stable performance with good momentum for growth. GDP reached 74.4 trillion yuan, representing 6.7% growth, and seeing China outpace most other economies. China contributed more than 30% of global growth. The CPI rose by 2%, with an 2.3% of negative growth compared to the previous year. We have increased 8.5% in profits. Energy consumption per unit of GDP fell by 5%. Our economic performance improved markedly in quality and returns. Employment growth exceeded projections. Throughout the year, a total of 13.14 million new urban jobs were added. The number of college graduates finding employment or starting businesses reached another record high. The registered urban unemployment rate stood at 4.02% at year-end 2016, the lowest level in years. For China, a large developing country with a population of over 1.3 billion, attaining this level is no easy task. Continued advances were made in reform and opening up. Breakthroughs were made in reforms in major sectors and key links, and initial success was achieved in supply-side structural reform. Besides, new measures were introduced for opening up. Rapid progress was made in pursuing the Belt and Road Initiative, and a number of major projects and industrial capacity cooperation projects with other countries were launched. Economic structural adjustment was stepped up. Consumption was the main driver of economic growth. The value created by the service sector rose to 51.6% of GDP. High-tech industries and equipment manufacturing grew rapidly. In agriculture, production was stable and structural adjustments were made, and we had continued good grain harvests. New drivers of growth gained strength. Further progress was made in pursuing the innovation-driven development, and a number of world-leading achievements were made in science and technology. Emerging industries were thriving, and the transformation and upgrading of traditional industries accelerated. People were busy launching businesses or making innovations. With a 24.5% year-on-year increase in the number of new businesses registered. That's an average of 15,000 new businesses daily. With self-employed traders and other market entities included, we had an average of 45,000 new market entities launched per day. New growth drivers are opening new prospects. Infrastructure became ever better able to sustain development. Over 1,900 kilometers of new high-speed rail lines came into service, and more than 6,700 kilometers of expressways and 290,000 kilometers of rural roads were built or upgraded. Construction picked up on urban rail transit facilities and underground utility tunnels. Construction began on 21 major water conservancy projects, and the number of 4G mobile communication subscribers grew by 340 million, and over 5.5 million kilometers of optical fiber cables were added. Living standards were improved. Per capita disposable income increased by 6.3% in real terms. The number of people living in poverty in rural areas was reduced by 12.4 million, including more than 2.4 million people relocated from inhospitable areas, more than 6 million homes in rundown urban areas, and over 3.8 million dilapidated rural houses were renovated. In tourism, the domestic trips showed rapid growth, and overseas trips exceeded 120 million. People in both urban and rural areas saw a rise in living standards. China successfully hosted the G20 2016 Hangzhou Summit and helped to deliver a number of important pioneering, leading, and institutional outcomes, thus doing its part for global economic governance. 2016 was an unusual year in our country's development. China was confronted with an external environment in which the world saw the lowest economic and trade growth in 7 years, growing volatility in global financial markets, and sudden and frequent regional and global challenges. Domestically, China faced multiple difficulties, for example, major structural problems, prominent risks and dangers, and mounting downward pressure on the economy. China found itself in a complex environment as reform entered a critical stage. Profound changes took place, affecting interests, and factors impacting social stability grew. Given all these factors, to maintain stable economic performance, it was not easy, and yet we succeeded and even managed to make progress on many fronts. Once again, this shows that we, the Chinese people, have the courage, ingenuity, and ability to overcome any difficulty. It also shows that Chinese economy possesses potential, resilience, and strength, so we can be sure there is even better development ahead.
1年来，我们主要做了
I will now move on to discuss our main work last year. First, we continue to develop new and more effective ways of carrying out regulation at the macro level, keeping the economy performing within an appropriate range. Last year, we faced difficult choices in macro-level regulation, but we stood firm in not adopting strong stimulus policies and strive instead to maintain steady growth, adjust the structure, and guard against risks through reform and innovation. We strengthened targeted and well-timed regulation on the basis of range-based regulation. More proactive fiscal policies was pursued, and we used the increasing fiscal deficit to cover tax and fee cuts. We have stepped up with the VAT reform, slashing the tax burden of businesses for the year by over 570 billion RMB and reducing tax burdens in every sector. A transitional plan for sharing VAT revenue between the central and local governments was formulated and ensured financial resources of local governments remained unchanged. More local government bonds were issued to replace outstanding debts, reducing interest payments by roughly 400 billion RMB yuan. A prudent monetary policy was pursued in a flexible and appropriate manner. The M2 money supply increased by 11.3%, below our projected target of around 13%. We used a range of monetary policy tools to support the development of the real economy. Measures were taken to upgrade consumption. We unveiled policies to encourage private investment and saw investment begin to stabilize. We strengthened efforts to manage financial risks and to reform the real estate market. The RMB exchange rate regime continued to improve, and the exchange rate remained generally stable at an adaptive and equilibrium level. We also exercised categories-based regulation over the real estate market. Second, we focused on 5 priority tasks: cutting overcapacity, reducing excess inventory, deleveraging, lowering costs, and strengthening areas of weakness. Over the year, steel production capacity was cut by 65 million metric tons and coal by over 290 million metric tons, going beyond annual targets. Effective assistance was provided to laid-off employees. We supported migrant workers in buying homes in urban areas. We increased the proportion of people affected by rebuilding in rundown urban areas receiving monetary compensation, making good progress in reducing real estate inventory. Business acquisitions and reorganizations were encouraged. Direct financing was promoted, and market and law-based debt-to-equity swaps were carried out, lowering the debt-to-asset ratio. We helped the enterprises lowering operating costs. We take measures to cut taxes and fees, lower the share paid by enterprises for social security, and cut the price of electricity. We took efforts to strengthen areas of weakness and undertook major initiatives that both help to meet urgent needs today and promise long-term benefits. Third, we deepened reform and opening up, further strengthening the vitality of development. Reform was deepened across the board, and a good number of landmark and pillar reform initiatives were undertaken. To balance the government-market relationship, the pivotal issue in economic structural reform, we continued reforms to streamline administration, delegate powers, and improve regulation and services. My administration's goal of cutting the number of items requiring government review by a third had been achieved ahead of schedule. Last year, we cancelled the requirement on a further 165 items for review by state council departments and authorized local governments. We overhauled and standardized 192 items of intermediary services for government review, as well as 220 items of approvals and accreditations for professional qualifications. We deepened institutional reforms in the business sector, for example, the oversight model of random inspection and public release across the board. We reformed to restructure and reorganize SOEs and introduce into them mixed ownership structure. We deepened resource tax reforms and improved measures for separating rural land ownership rights, contract rights, and management rights, and established a mechanism for determining whether people have been lifted out of poverty. We also give greater autonomy to colleges and research institutes and adopt profit distribution policies oriented toward increasing the value of knowledge. We opened up the elderly service market. We expanded the trials of comprehensive reforms in public hospitals, deepened reform of evaluation and approval systems for medicine and medical equipment.
We formulated unified measures to determine natural resource rights. We pilot reforms and conducting direct oversight by provincial-level environmental protection agencies over the environmental monitoring and inspection work and environmental protection agencies below the provincial level, as well as cooperation and fallow and land reforms. We opened China wider to the rest of the world. As we push ahead with the Belt and Road Initiative, we work to increase complementary between the development strategies of practical cooperation between China and other countries along the routes. The RMB was formally included in IMF special drawing rights basket. The Shenzhen-Hong Kong Stock Connect was launched, improved measures for promoting trade, and built 12 new integrated environmental zones for cross-border e-commerce, bring about a steady recovery in the volume of import and export. New practice for pilot-free zone in Shanghai and elsewhere were used to establish another 7 pilot zones. The requirement for review and approval for setting up and making significant adjustments to foreign enterprises was replaced by a simple filling process, with the exception of a few areas where special market access required applied. In 2016, we utilized more than $130 billion of overseas investment, continue to rank first among developing countries. Fourth, we strengthen innovation's leading role, spurring the rapid development of new growth drivers. We took further steps to implement the Internet Plus action plans and the national big data strategy, fully implemented the Made in China 2025 initiative, and implemented and improved policies and measures to encourage people to launch business and innovate. We developed and launched a plan for implementing major science and technological programs by 2030, supported Beijing and Shanghai in building themselves into global R&D centers, and established another 6 national innovation demonstration runs. The number of enforced China Patent Institute in China passed the million mark, and the value of technology transaction exceed 1 trillion yuan. The contribution of science and technology progress economic growth rose to 56.2%. Innovation's role in powering development grew markedly. Fifth, we promote more balanced and development between regions and between rural and urban areas. We step up work to implement the 3 strategies initiatives: the Belt and Road, Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei integration, and the Yangtze Economic Belt, and begin construction on a number of key projects. We formulated a plan for the 13th 5-year plan period for large-scale development in the Western region, launched a new round of initiative as part of the Northeast Revitalization Strategy, drove progress in the rise of the Central region, support the Eastern region in leading the rest of the country. We sped up efforts to promote new types of urbanization, deepen reform of the household registration system, introduced the residence and card system nationwide, and granted urban residents to another 16 million people from rural areas. 6. We strengthened ecological conservation, made fresh progress in pursuing green development. We formulated and introduced the measures for assessing progress made in ecological development and established national pilot zones for ecological conservation. We took stronger measures against air pollution and, as a result, saw a 5.6% decline in sulfur dioxide emissions, a 4% cut in nitrogen oxide emissions, and a 9.1% drop in an annual average density of fine particle matters in 74 key cities. We continue to improve the energy mix, increasing the share of clean energy consumption by 1.7 percentage points and cutting the share of coal consumption by 2 percentage points. We continue our efforts to prevent and control water pollution and adopted an action plan for preventing and controlling soil pollution. Central government inspections on environmental protection accountability were launched, and violations of environmental protection laws were investigated and prosecuted, giving impetus to deepen reforms and protect the environment. 7th, we gave particular attention to ensuring and improving living standards, helping Chinese people gain a stronger sense of benefit. Despite growing pressure, we continue to increase input in areas related to living standards. We launched new policies on employment and business startups and carry out solid work on increasing employment for key target groups and priority regions. We made all-round progress in key battles to eradicate poverty and earmarked over 100 billion yuan from government budgets for poverty relief. We increased subsidies, allowances, benefit from entitled groups, basic pensions payments, and other subsidies, and over 70 million people benefited through the provision of cost of living allowance for people with disabilities and financial difficulties and nursing care subsidies for people with severe disabilities. Fiscal spending on education continued to be over 4% of GDP. Number of students from poor rural areas enrolled into universities grew by 21.3%. We waived tuition and miscellaneous fees for students from poor rural families at regular senior high schools. Over the course of the year, more than 84% million grants were given to students from poor families. The basic health insurance system for rural and non-working urban residents were merged and government subsidies from the system were increased. More fundings were provided for basic public health services. Full coverage of the serious disease insurance scheme were achieved. And healthcare costs meeting relevant problems can now be settled on the spot when incurred anywhere within the provincial level administrative area where insurance is registered. We increased public cultural services at the community level. The fitness of all initiatives were launched. The Chinese athletes gave an excellent performance at the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. Last year, part of the country, especially the Yangtze Basin, were hit by severe flooding and other disasters. We acted quickly to provide effective rescue and relief, swiftly relocated over 9 million people, minimizing damage and loss, and made system progress with recovery and reconstruction efforts. 8. We continue to enhance government performance and improve governance, thus ensuring social harmony and stability. The State Council submitted 13 legislative proposals to the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress for approval and adopted a revised 8 set of administrative regulations with improved mechanism for drawing on public opinions in decision-making on public issues and worked with keen attention to handle the proposal and suggestions of MPC deputies and CPPCC National Committee members. We made progress in strengthening government transparency by releasing a list of the powers and responsibilities of all provincial level government departments. We intensified accountability inspections. The third State Council accountability inspection was carried out. Special inspection and third-party evaluation were conducted. And new steel projects launched to breach regulations, and the production and sales of substandard steel products were strictly investigated and dealt with. We strengthened workplace safety efforts and saw a continued decline on the total number of accidents and in the number of accidents of a serious nature. We took comprehensive measures to maintain law and order and in accordance with the law, crack down crime and other violations, effectively safeguarding national and public security. We carried out in earnest activity to enable party members to gain a good understanding of the party constitution, party regulations, and General Secretary Xi Jinping's major policies, address them to meet party standards. We work to ensure compliance with the party central committee's 8-point decisions improving party and government's conduct.
中国特色大国外交卓有成效。
As a major country, China has made outstanding achievement in its diplomacy with distinctive features over the past year. President Xi Jinping and other Chinese leaders visited many countries. They attended major international events, including the 24th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, the BRICS Leaders Meeting, the Nuclear Security Summit, high-level meetings of the 71st sessions of the UN General Assembly, the Asian-Euro meeting, and the East Asian Leader Meeting on Cooperation. We hosted the first ever Lantau-Mekong Cooperation Leaders Meeting. China's coordination and cooperation with other major countries were strengthened. Its comprehensive cooperation with neighboring countries continued to be boosted. Its friendship and cooperation with other developing countries was deepened, and its interaction with the UN and other international organizations became closer. China was actively involved in reforming and improving the global governance system. We play our part in ensuring that the Paris Agreement was put into force. Economic diplomacy and personal and cultural exchange yielded notable outcomes. We were resolute in upholding China's sovereignty, territorial integrity. As a responsible major country, China has been playing a constructive role in international and regional issues and have been making significant contribution to world peace and development. We celebrated the 95th anniversary of the founding the Communist Party of China and the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Long March of the Chinese Workers and Peasant Red Army, demonstrating our unshaken will to remain true to the founding mission of the party, to keep press ahead and to overcome all difficulties, and show the firm determination of all Chinese people to keep up our stride on the new Long March and continue striving for new victories. Esteemed deputies, we owe all the achievement made over the past year to the sound leadership of the Party Central Committee with the Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and concerted efforts of the party, the military, and people of all nations' ethnic groups. On behalf of the State Council, I wish to express our sincere gratitude to all our people, including public figures from all sectors of society and the other parties and people's organizations. Express our sincere appreciation to our fellow countrymen and women in the Hong Kong and Macau, special ministerial regions, and Taiwan and the Chinese national overseas. I also wish to express our heartfelt thanks to the government of other countries, international organizations, and friends from all over the world who have shown understanding and support for China in its endeavor to modernize. Yet, we must not lose sight of the many problems and challenges China faces in pursuing economic and social development. Internal forces driving economic growth needs to be strengthened. Overcapacity poses a serious challenge in some industries. Some enterprises face difficulties in their production and operation. Economic prospects for different regions are divergent. Physical imbalance is becoming great, and potential economic and financial risks cannot be overlooked. Environmental pollution remains grave, and in particular, some areas are frequently hit by heavy smog. We need to further strengthen our steps to combat pollution. There are also many problems causing public concerns in housing, education, healthcare, elderly care, food and drug safety, and income distribution. It is distressing that there are some still major accidents in the coal mining, construction, and transportation sectors.
There is still room for improvement in government performance. Some reform policies and measures have not been fully implemented. Excess fees and charges being levied on businesses and difficulties facing individuals who want to access government services remain problems. We still see problems of laws and regulations being enforced in a non-standard, unfair, or uncivil way. A small number of government employees are lazy and neglectful of their duties or shirk responsibility. Corruption occurs in some sectors often. We must confront these challenges head-on, be ready to bear the weight of responsibility, and do our all to deliver. We must do justice to our historic mission and live up to the trust by our people. Second, I now wish to discuss with you what the government will do in 2017. This year, the Communist Party of China will hold its 19th National Congress. So, it will be a year of great significance for advancing the cause of the party and our country. To deliver our work this year, the government will do the following. Follow the leadership of the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, hold high the banner of socialism with Chinese characteristics, implement the guidelines from the 18th MPC and those of the 3rd through 6th plenary sessions of the 18th Party Central Committee. Take as our guide Deng Xiaoping theory. The theory of three represents the scientific outlook on development. Put into practice the principles from General Secretary Xi Jinping's major addresses and his new vision, thinking, and strategies. Promote balanced economic, political, cultural, social, and ecological progress, and implement the four-pronged comprehensive strategy. Remain committed to the underlying principle of making progress while keeping performance stable. Gain a strong understanding and put into practice the new development philosophy. Adapt to, approach in the right way, and steer the new normal in economic development. give central importance to improving the quality and returns of development, ensure the macro-level policy is consistent, industrial policy is targeted, micro-level policy injects dynamism into the market, reform policy delivers outcomes, and social policy sees basic living needs are met. Focus on supply-side structural reform, expand aggregate demand, do better in guiding expectations, strengthening the role of innovation, maintain stable growth, promote reform, make structural adjustments, improve living standards, and guard against risks, maintain stable and sound economic development as well as social harmony and stability. These efforts will enable us to pave the way for the 19th NPC. The developments both in and outside of China require that we are ready to face more complicated and graver situations. World economic growth remains sluggish, and both the deglobalization trend and protectionism are growing. There are many uncertainties about the direction of the major economies' policies and their spillover effects. The factors would cause instability and uncertainty. China is at a crucial and challenging stage in its own development endeavors, and there are many salient challenges and problems in the economy. The difficulties we face are not to be underestimated, but we must remain confident. China has a solid material foundation, abundant human resources, a huge market, and a complete system of industries. It is making faster scientific progress and has a complete range of infrastructure. We have good conditions for sustaining economic development and many innovative tools and policy options for conducting macroeconomic regulation. We are convinced that under the leadership of the party, we will uphold the party's fundamental policy guidelines and keep to the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. We will rely on the inexhaustible creativity of the people, unite as one, and forge ahead. It is our firm belief that by doing this, we will make great new achievements. We have set the following key projected targets for this year. GDP growth of around 6.5% or higher if possible in practice. CPI increase kept at around 3%, over 11 million new urban jobs, and a registered urban unemployment rate within 4.5%, a steady rise in import and export volumes, and a basic balance in international payments, increases in personal income basically in step with economic growth, a reduction of at least 3.4% in energy consumption per unit of GDP, and continued reductions in the release of major pollutants. The projected target for this year's growth is realistic and in keeping with economic principles. It will help steer and steady expectations and make structural adjustments, and will help achieve the goal of finishing the building of a moderately prosperous society. An important reason for stressing the need to maintain stable growth is to ensure employment and improve people's lives. With more pressure of employment, we will give top priority to creating jobs and implement a proactive employment policy. This year's target for urban job creation is 1 million more than last year, underlining the greater importance attached to employment, considering our sound economic fundamentals and the capacity they bring for job creation. With hard work, this is attainable. This year, we will continue to pursue a proactive fiscal policy and a prudent monetary policy. On the basis of conducting range-based regulation, we will focus more on targeted and well-timed regulation and improve the predictability, precision, and effectiveness of regulation. We will coordinate consumption, investment, regional, industrial, and environmental protection policies, ensure the economic performance within an appropriate range. We will pursue a more proactive and effective fiscal policy. This year's deficit to GDP ratio is projected to be 3%, with the fiscal deficit set at 2.38 trillion RMB yuan, a year-on-year increase of 200 billion yuan. To break this down, The projected deficit of the central government is 1.55 trillion, and the projected deficit of local governments is 830 billion yuan. Local government special bonds to be issued will total 800 billion, and local government bonds will continue to be issued to replace the outstanding debt. The main reason for keeping this year's ratio unchanged is to allow for further reductions in taxes and fees. This year, the tax burden on businesses will be eased by around 350 billion. Business-related fees will be cut by 200 billion yuan to benefit the market entities. Government budgets should highlight priorities. Spending in some areas should be maintained, while in others, cuts should be made. And we will spend more to strengthen areas of weakness and improve living standards. General transfer payments to local governments will be increased by 9.5%, with the focus on increasing transfer payments for equalizing access to basic public services and stepping up subsidies for regions facing difficulties. We will scale down non-priority spending and cut budgets for projects that do not deliver desired outcomes. Governments should tighten their belts, and central government should take the lead by cutting no less than 5% of their general expenditures. No increase in spending on official overseas visits, official vehicles, or official hospitality. And we will squeeze out more funds to cover cuts in taxes and fees. We will keep government spending low and enrich our people. We will continue to pursue a prudent and neutral monetary policy. This year, the end to money supply and aggregate financing are forecasted to grow by around 12% in 2017. We will apply a full range of monetary policy instruments, maintain basic stability in liquidity, see that market interest rates remain at an appropriate level, and improve the transmission mechanism of monetary policy. We encourage a greater flow of financial resources into the real economy, particularly in support of agriculture, rural areas, and farmers, and small and micro businesses. RMB exchange rate will be further liberalized. The currency's stable position in the global monetary system will be maintained. To deliver a good performance this year, we in government should stick to the following. First, we should make progress while maintaining stable performance and keep our strategic focus. Stability is of overriding importance. We should ensure stable growth, maintain employment, and prevent risks. To ensure overall economic and social stability, we must not allow the red line to be crossed concerning financial security, people's well-being, environmental protection. While maintaining stable performance, we should endeavor to make progress, deepen reforms, accelerate structural adjustments, be prepared to take on some really tough problems, and push to make progress in key areas. Second, we should focus on supply-side structural reform. We must give priority to improving supply-side structure. We should streamline administration, reduce taxes, further expand market access, and encourage innovation. And we should keep micro-entities energized, reduce ineffective supply while expanding effective supply, and better adapt to and guide demand. Like the struggle from chrysalis to butterfly, this process of transformation and upgrading is filled with promise, but also accompanied by great pain. It is urgent, formidable, and complicated. We must press ahead with courage and get the job done. Third, we should expand aggregate demand as appropriate and improve its efficacy. China's potential domestic demand is enormous, and it is both necessary and possible for domestic demand to be expanded. The key is to know where to start. We will increase consumer spending to improve people's lives, to boost investment, to strengthen areas of weakness, and sustain development, so that the expansion of domestic demand becomes more efficient and sustainable, and supply-side reform and demand-side regulation reinforce each other. Fourth, we should rely on innovation to replace old growth drivers with new ones and speed up structural improvement and upgrading. Having reached the current stage of development, China can now advance only through reform and innovation. We have the largest quality workforce, as well as the largest pool of scientists, engineers, and professionals in the world. and their potential for innovation is truly tremendous. We must continue to draw strength from reform and opening up, fully tap the potential of human resources and human capital, and move more quickly to pursue innovation-driven development. We'll foster and develop new growth drivers while transforming and upgrading the traditional growth drivers. These steps will enable China's economy to maintain a medium-high rate of growth and Chinese industries to move toward the medium or high end.
Fifth, we should solve problems of public concern. All government work is for the people. We should keep in mind the fact that China remains in a primary stage of the socialism and pursue a people-focused development philosophy. Where conditions permit, we will lose no time in solving problems about which the people have great concern and which demand speedy resolution. When problems cannot be solved for the time being, we will work to resolve them over time. We must dedicate efforts to deliver service to the people, resolve the difficulties they face, promote social equality and justice, and demonstrate that development does better people's lives. I now wish to discuss our major areas of work for 2017. Confronted with the formidable task of reform and development and maintaining stability this year, we must keep in mind the big picture and adopt a holistic approach, have clear priorities and focus on key tasks, and properly handle interactions among various sectors. We should give priorities for the following areas of work. First, push ahead with the 5 priority tasks through reform. We should, on the basis of consolidating, building on what we have achieved, improve our policy measures in light of new development and new problems so as to make greater progress. Take solid and effective steps to cut overcapacity. This year, we further reduce steel production capacity by around 50 million metric tons and shut down at least 150 million metric tons of coal production facilities. At the same time, we will suspend and postpone construction on or eliminate no less than 50 million kilowatts of coal-fired power generation capacity in order to guard against the diffusing risk of overcapacity in coal-fired power, improve the efficiency of the sector, and make room for clean energy to develop. We will strictly enforce all laws, regulations, and standards in environmental protection, energy consumption, quality, and safety, and make more use of market and law-based methods as we work to address the problem of zombie enterprises, encourage enterprises mergers, restructuring, and bankruptcy liquidation, shut down all outdated production facilities that fail to meet standards. As overcapacity is cut, we must provide assistance to laid-off workers. Central government's special fund for rewards and subsidies should be promoted, allocated, and local government enterprise needs to put in place related funds and measures to ensure that laid-off workers can find new jobs and secure their livelihood. Take targeted policies to cut excess urban real estate inventory. At present, there is still excess supply in the real estate market of 3rd and 4th tier cities. We support both local and new residents in buying homes for personal use. We need to be clear that housing is for people to live in, and local governments should take priority responsibility in this respect. We should move faster to establish robust long-term mechanisms for promoting a steady and sound development of the real estate sector, with multiple levels of demand being met, and basic housing support provided by the government. We will take more category-based on the target steps of regulate the real estate market. Cities that are under big pressure from rising housing price needs to increase as appropriate the supply of land for residential use, and we should better regulate housing development market and intermediary services. Today, several dozen million people still live in rundown areas in cities and towns. We must continue housing renovation in these areas. This year, we will renovate another 6 million housing units in these areas, continue to develop public rental housing, encourage according local circumstances the greater use of monetary compensation for those affected by such rebuilding, and improve local infrastructure and public services. With these efforts, we will help more families struggling with housing to bid farewell to rundown areas and see that with good roofs over their head, our people move on to better lives. Carry out delivering deleveraging in an active and prudent way. There's a high leverage in non-financial Chinese firms. This is caused by high saving rates and the composition of financing, which is primarily based on credit. While working control over leverage, we should focus on bringing down the leverage of enterprises. We need to see that the idle assets of enterprises are put into use, push ahead with securitization of corporate assets, support market and law-based debt-to-equity swaps, expand equity financing, and place tighter constraint on enterprises, especially SOEs, in leveraging so as to gradually reduce enterprise debt to an acceptable level. Take multiple measures to cut costs. Most small business with low profits will enjoy halved corporate income tax, with the upper limit of taxable annual income raised from 300,000 to 500,000 yuan. For small and medium high-tech enterprises, the proportion of R&D expenses that are tax deductible is to be raised from 50 to 75%. We will do all we can to see that the intensity and impact of structural tax cut deliver further results. The greater number of charges have placed an unbearable burden on many businesses. We are going to slash non-tax burdens. First, we will completely overhaul government-managed funds, abolish municipal public utility surges, and authorize local government to reduce and cancel some funds. Second, we will abolish or suspend 35 administrative charges paid by enterprises to the central government, which represent more than 50% reduction in the number, and then reduce as far as possible those that are still applied. Local governments also need to make significant cuts to government administrative fees. Third, we will reduce government-set operating fees for businesses. Unauthorized fees charged by intermediaries for government review and approval will be overhauled and abolished. We will work towards lowering operating fees levied on businesses in the finance and railway freight sectors. We will strengthen oversight over the collection of market-set service fees. Fourth, we will continue to lower and appropriate the share paid by enterprises for contributions to social insurance and housing provident fund. Fifth, we will deepen reform and improve policies to reduce government-imposed transaction costs for business and lower the energy and logistic cost. All government department and agencies concerned should have in mind the overall interest of the country instead of their narrow departmental interest. Reduce the financial burden on enterprises and help them develop new advantages over international competition. Take targeted and powerful measures to strengthen areas of weaknesses. We need to focus on salient problems that are holding back economic and social development and making difficulties to improve people's standard of living. And we should integrate efforts to undertake major projects set on the 13th five-year plan with efforts to strengthen areas of weaknesses. We should act faster to raise capacity of public service, infrastructure, innovation-driven development, and resource and environment to sustain development. Poor areas and people living in poverty represent the areas of greatest weaknesses we must face as we work to finish building the moderately prosperous society in all aspects. We need to do more in implementing targeted poverty reduction and eliminate measures. This year, we will further reduce the number of rural residents living in poverty by over 10 million, including 3.4 million to be relocated from inhospitable areas. Central government funding for poverty alleviation will increase by over 30%. We need to step up development in continuous areas of extreme poverty and old revolutionary basis. For this, we should focus on the following work: improving infrastructure and public services, fostering poverty alleviation through distinctive local businesses, and domestic and overseas export of labor, and improvement of education and healthcare, implementing the programs for improving lives in poor villages, and building the self-development capacity of poor areas and people. In poor countries, different rural development funds will be merged, and oversight over our funds and projects will be strengthened. We'll develop new mechanisms for coordinating poverty reduction efforts. We'll support non-governmental participation in combating poverty. The system for ensuring responsibilities taken for poverty elimination will be effectively enforced. The strictly possible evaluation, assessment, poverty elevation will be carried out. The stern measures will be taken to address deception, falsification, and the manipulation of number in poverty elimination work. 2. Deepening reform in major sectors and key links. Full reforms will be deepened in all areas. We will move faster to advance fundamental and critical reform to boost the internal forces driving development. We will continue to transform government functions to enable the market to play the decisive role in resource allocation to give better play to the role of government. We must deepen reform and streamline government administration, delegate more powers, and improve regulations and services. This is a profound reform of government itself, which we need to continue to pursue with courage and make painful self-adjustment and overhaul all odds. We will fully implement the list-based management system, formulate list of powers and responsibilities of our department under State Council, expand the piloting of granting markets access on the basis of negative list, and reduce the discretionary powers of the government while giving the market more freedom to take resources. We will abolish the requirement for a permit for a number of production and service activities. We will deepen institutional reform in the business sector, merge different forms of certification required of business into a certificate. We expand trials and separate operating permits and business license. We will improve the system for conduct both registration and post-registration oversight over business. Apply the oversight model of random inspection and public release to cover all business activities, and strengthen coordinated administrative law enforced. We will accelerate efforts to make the informed system and State Council department and those of the local governments better connected and financially unified government service platform. To see that business and public benefit more from our reform to streamline administration, delegate powers, and improve regulation services. We must cut red tapes, level the playing field, provide greater convenience, and remove that last crucial hurdle. We will continue to reform fiscal and tax systems. We improve and policies on piloting replacement of business tax with VAT across the board. We will simplify the structure of VAT rates and undertake this year to turn the 4 tax brackets into 3. We will create a simple, transparent, and fairer tax environment and further ease the tax burden of our firms. We will move forward with the reform and define the respective financial powers and expenditure responsibility of the central and local governments, speed up work on formulating on overall plans for central and local government revenue sharing, improve the local tax system, and better regulate the local government debt financing. We will step up efforts to make government budget and financial accounts more transparent, to create pressure for idle budgetary funds to be put in good use. We must use funds more efficiently and ensure every single sum is spent when it can be seen and produce results.
We will advance reforms in the financial sector, permitting financial institutions to focus on their main business and make their services accessible to small and micro businesses, strengthen their ability to serve the real economy to avoid being distracted from intended purpose. We'll encourage large commercial banks to establish inclusive financial departments. Large SOEs must take the lead in this effort. We'll adopt differentiated assessment and evaluation measures and address the problem of medium and small and micro enterprises being unable to access loans. We'll make good use of policy-backed and development-oriented finance and strengthen the role rural credit cooperatives play in meeting the needs of agriculture. We'll deepen the reform of multi-tiered capital markets, improve the basic systems of main board, actively develop the China-next stock market, and we will expand channels for using insurance funds to support the real economy. At present, overall, systemic risks are under control. But we must be fully alert to the buildup of risks, including risks of non-performing assets, bond defaults, shadow banking, and internet finance. We'll take steady steps to advance the reform of financial regulatory system and work to diffuse major potential risks. We'll ensure order in the financial sector and build a firewall against financial risks. The fundamentals of the Chinese economy remain sound. The capital adequacy ratio and provision coverage of commercial banks remain high, and we have many financial tools and instruments that can be used. We have the confidence, the ability, and the means to forestall systemic risks. We'll speed up the reform of SOEs and state capital. We should develop a corporate governance structure represented by legal person that is under effective check and a flexible and efficient market-based operating system with a view to increasing core competitiveness and making resource allocation more effective. This year, we'll complete the introduction of corporate systems into SOEs. We'll deepen reform to establish mixed ownership systems and make substantive progress in industries like electric power, petroleum, natural gas, railways, civil aviation, telecom, and defense. We'll advance structural reform in the power, oil, and gas sectors and open their competitive operations to the private sector. We'll do more to make SOEs leaner and healthier and perform better. We'll redouble efforts to relieve SOEs of their obligations and help them resolve other long-standing issues. We'll make progress in work on piloting reforms in state capital investment. We'll improve regulation of state assets and ensure that state assets maintain and increase their value. So we will see that commonwealth of people is well protected. We'll do more to energize the non-public sector. We'll thoroughly implement the policies and measures for supporting the development of non-public sector. We'll move faster to develop a new relationship between government and business. We encourage non-public enterprises to participate in SOE reform and ensure equal rights, equal opportunities, and fair rules, and expand market access to non-public sector. All industries for which entry is not prohibited by laws or regulations should be open to different types of market entities. All industries that are open to overseas investment should be open to Chinese private capital. And all unjustified activities that impede fair market competition should be stopped. Will improve the property rights protection system. Protecting IPR means protecting labor, protecting invention and innovation, and protecting and developing productive forces. We'll work faster to improve the property rights protection system and protect in accordance with the law the property rights of economic entities under all forms of ownership. We'll encourage people to start businesses, make innovations, and create wealth, and inspire entrepreneurship. Ensure that entrepreneurs can run their businesses and make investments with peace of mind. Activities that infringe on the property rights must be investigated and dealt with severely. Anything wrong must be corrected. We'll make a big push for progress in the reform of social system. We'll deepen reforms in support of change in the income distribution system. We'll take steady steps to advance reform of the old age insurance system and allocate a portion of state capital to enlarge social security funds. We'll deepen the coordinated reform of medical services, medical insurance, and medicine industry. We'll introduce overall reform in public hospitals, abolish all markups, and make coordinated progress in reforming healthcare pricing, staffing, remuneration, medicine distribution, and models of health insurance payment. We'll reform education, cultural sector, public institutions to unleash vast social potential. We'll deepen institutional reform to build a sound ecological environment. Through the functional zoning system and mechanisms for compensating for ecological conservation, we'll put in place resource and environment monitoring and early warning mechanisms. We'll launch trials to improve the state natural resource assets management system and introduce an overall plan for establishing a national park system. 3. Doing more to unleash the potential of domestic demand. We'll push to see that the compensation of supply becomes better matched with the compensation of demand, and consumption upgrades and effective investment reinforce each other, so we will have more internal driving force for economy. We'll promote a steady increase in consumer spending. We need to adapt to changes in consuming, improve our policies, and create a better environment. We need to speed up the development of service consumption, launch a new round of trials for comprehensive reform. We will support the non-governmental sector in providing education, elderly care, healthcare. We'll encourage new service models and cross-sectoral integration combined with elderly care services, cultural services, and other emerging forms of consumption. Through the tourist facilities, and we will make a big push in terms of the tourism, recreational tourism, and we will increase information consumption, including digital homes and online learning. We'll see that communities in rural areas have better access to e-commerce and encourage the development of physical store sales and online shopping. Second, we'll boost consumption of quality products. We will guide enterprises in increasing the variety of products in their brand. More products sold domestically should be produced on the same production lines. meet the same standards and be of the same quality to better satisfy the needs of upgrading consumption. Third, ensure order in the market. We'll be strict about investigating and punishing the production and sale of counterfeit products, false advertising, and price fraud. We'll protect consumer rights to make sure that spending is enjoyable rather than a disappointing experience for consumers. We will proactively work to expand efficient investment. We'll guide more investment into fields that will help to strengthen weakness areas, drive structural adjustment, encourage innovation, and improve people's lives. This year, we'll invest 800 billion yuan in railway construction and 1.8 trillion yuan in highway and waterway projects. Construction on another 15 major water conservancy projects will begin, and work on major rail transport, civil aviation, and telecom infrastructure will be sped up. A total of 507.6 billion yuan of investment has been included in the central government budget. We'll implement and improve policies for encouraging private investment. We'll promote public-private partnerships and improve related policies on preferential pricing, tax, fee arrangement. Government must take the lead in acting in good faith and must never arbitrarily change agreements, and new officials must not disavow obligations. Will improve planning for regional development. Will coordinate the launching of 3 strategic initiatives and the development of the eastern, central, western, and northeastern regions. With related new plans, we will explore and adopt new measures to boost the development of national-level new areas, development zones, and industrial parks through innovation. In order to improve more transformation and development, airspace resources will be better allocated. We'll speed up the development of maritime economy demonstration zones to develop China into a strong maritime country. And we'll take solid steps to pursue a new type of urbanization through the reform of household registration system. This year, 13 million new urban residents will be registered. We'll speed up work to introduce the urban residence card system nationwide. We will support the development of small and medium cities. We'll help a number of counties and very large towns that meet the criteria to steadily develop into cities, and we will make city clusters better play their role in driving the development. We will take more steps to reform the construction industry and raise the standard of design and the quality of construction projects. We will begin construction on at least another 2,000 kilometers of underground utility tunnels in cities. A 3-year initiative will be launched to remove the risk of flooding in highly vulnerable urban areas, and further progress will be made in the development of sponge cities. This will make our cities more attractive and function better. 4. Transforming and upgrading the real economy through innovation. Real economy has always been the foundation of China's development. Now, the task we face is to speed up its transformation and upgrading. We will do more to implement the strategy of innovation-driven development, upgrade the structure of the real economy, and improve its performance and competitiveness. We'll strengthen our capacity for making technological innovations. We'll improve mechanisms for providing continued long-term support for fundamental research and regional research, build major national infrastructure for science and technology, and set up technological innovation hubs and establish platforms for sharing R&D resources. We'll continue piloting reforms for all-round innovation. We'll see that our universities and research institutions truly operate with autonomy. Ensure that incentive policies like stocks, options, and dividends are implemented. Implement the reform of systems for managing research funding and projects. This will keep our scientists and engineers from being distracted and allow them to focus on their research.
We will begin piloting reform to conduct integrated management of intellectual property rights and improve the system for creating, protecting, and applying IPR. We will deepen reform of China's system for cultivating talents, introduce more effective policy for bringing in talent from overseas by welcoming the world's brightest mind in China and fully motivate our scientists and engineers. We will use innovation to accomplish great things. We will accelerate the development of emerging industries. We will fully implement our plan for developing strategic emerging economies. We will accelerate R&D and commercializing of new materials, artificial intelligence, integrated circuits, biopharmacy, 5G mobile communication, and other technologies, and develop industry clusters in these fields. We'll continue to support and guide the development of sharing economy to enable greater efficiency in the use of resources and bring greater convenience to our people. We'll formulate regulatory rules for emerging industries in keeping with the principle of encouraging innovation and conducting regulation in a tolerant and prudent way. We'll deepen reform and statistics management system and improve statistics on emerging industries. In the age of the Internet, faster and more cost-effective information networks are crucial to the development of every sector. This year, we will do more increasing broadband speed and lower rates for Internet services. Mobile rates for domestic roaming and long-distance calls will be cancelled. Rates for broadband services for small and medium enterprises will be slashed. The rate for international calls will be lowered. We'll push forward with Internet Plus Action Plan to speed up the development of the digital economy. I'm confident that all these steps will benefit both business and our people. We will endeavor to transform and upgrade traditional industries. We will intensify efforts to implement the Made in China 2025 initiative, promoting accelerated application big data, cloud computing, and the Internet of Things. And we use new technologies, new forms of businesses, and new models to bring about transformation in production, management, and marketing models for traditional industries. With the development of smart manufacturing as our focus, we will press ahead with building national smart manufacturing demonstration zones and manufacturing innovation centers. We will work hard on development of projecting in building a robust foundation for industrial development projects to develop and make major equipment, and will make big push to develop advanced manufacturing that's moving towards mid and high-end manufacturing. We will improve policy designs to turn China into a manufacturer of quality, and will adopt a variety of supporting measures for technology upgrading and re-energize traditional industries. We'll continue to encourage people to start business and make innovations. Our policy for encouraging people to start business and improve in an effective way of creating jobs and encourage startups and innovation. It is an important source of strength and foster new growth drives to replace old ones that upgrade the economic structures, and is an effective channel for promoting equal opportunity and facilitating vertical social mobility. We will establish more entrepreneurship and innovation demonstration centers. We encourage large enterprises, research institutes, and universities to establish specialized spaces for crowd innovation. We will strengthen support for innovation medium, small and micro business, and will develop a full range of services that are accessible to the general public for the entire business startup innovation processes. All this should help entities to fully exploit their own strengths and interact both on and offline, and see small enterprises flourishing nationwide, large enterprises grow mightily, and market dynamism and social creativity being fully unleashed. We will take comprehensive steps to improve product quality. We will take extensive action to raise quality, strengthen all-round quality management, and improve the competitive mechanism that links the firm fate to business to the quality of the products. Quality is born of workmanship. We will promote workmanship and foster cultural workmanship, where workers have a strong work ethics and tirelessly seek improvement. We will see the great number of Chinese workers exemplified workmanship, and more Chinese brands enjoy international recognition. We will usher in a new era of quality for economic development in China. 5. Promoting steady development of agriculture and continued increase in rural incomes. We will do more to advance supply-side structural reform in agriculture, improve policies to boost agriculture and benefit farmers, and create more channels for rural residents to find employment and increase their incomes. We will ensure China's food security, see the agricultural modernization and new urbanization reinforce each other, and speed up efforts to foster new drivers powering agricultural and rural development. We will push forward with structural adjustment in agriculture. We will guide farmers in responding to market demand, increasing supply of quality green agricultural products and production of quality rice and wheat, and making appropriate reduction to the amount of land devoted in growing corn. We expand trials and replace green crops with the feed crops cultivation to cover over 667,000 hectares. We encourage the use of multiple channels to reduce excess stockpiles of corn. We support major agricultural production areas in developing extensive processing of agricultural products, extend industry chains and value chains, and step up the integrated development of primary, secondary, and tertiary industry in rural areas. We boost the development of modern agriculture. We work faster to see due standards are followed in agricultural production, promote the development of brand name agricultural products. We create functional zone for green production, major agricultural products protection areas for growing quality and distinctively local agricultural products, and modern agriculture industrial parks. We will continue to improve rural land and upgrade low and medium yield corporate, adding 1.33 million hectares of farmland under highly water efficient irrigation. And this year, in selected countries and country-level cities, in 30 major grain production provinces, we will provide catastrophic insurance for farmers engaging in appropriate scaled farming operations. We will channel a proportion of budgetary disaster relief fund into this initiative and raise the benefit of the insurance scheme. We will deepen rural reforms. We will take steady steps to reform the rural collective property rights system and deepen the pilot reform of the rural land system to see our farmers are granted more property rights. We will improve pricing mechanism for grain and other agricultural products as well as the system for their purchase and storage. We will carry out comprehensive reform of pricing for water use in agriculture. We will deepen reforms related to collective forest tenure, state forestry area and farms, state-owned farms and rural supply and marketing corporations. Will improve the mechanism for encouraging business startups and innovation in rural areas, supporting migrant workers in starting business in their hometowns and villages, encourage college graduates to demobilize the military personnel and scientists and engineers to work in rural areas. We will step up the development of public facilities in rural areas. A total of 200,000 kilometers of roads will be upgraded or built in rural areas. We will see that all rural areas have a steady and reliable supply of power and that all electric pump set of rural flatland are connected. Fiber optic broadband will be extended to 30,000 administrative villages. We will increase water supply to better ensure access to safety drinking waters. Our goal is to develop rural areas into a place where people can enjoy both the beauty of the countryside and convenience of modern living. 6. Actively expand China's opening up to the world. Faced with the new changes of the international environment and the new requirement of China's development, we will further refine our strategy plan for opening up, work faster to build new systems for an open economy, and drive China towards both deeper and higher level opening up. We'll make solid efforts to pursue the Belt and Road Initiative. Guided by the principle of achieving shared growth through consultation and collaboration, will accelerate the building of overland economic corridors and maritime cooperation hubs, and establish cooperative mechanisms for achieving compatibility in customs clearances procedures along the routes. We will deepen international industry capacity cooperation, promote the export of Chinese equipment, technology, standards, and services to see that China and other countries are able to draw on each other's strengths. We will strengthen exchange cooperation, education, culture, and tourism. We see that holding of the Belt and Road Forum of international cooperation will offer a meeting of real quality, opening the page on a great new chapter of mutually beneficial cooperation. We ensure that foreign trade continues to pick up and register steady growth. We improve our import and export policies and optimize import and export. We expand the coverage of export credit insurance and provide export financing insurance for all insurable complete set of large equipment. We establish the seed fund to encourage innovation development of the service trade. We support the development of market procurement trade and integrated foreign trade service firms. We accelerate the development of the demonstration centers for transforming and upgrading foreign trade. We facilitate the extension processing trade to the medium and high end of industrial chains and its relocation to central and western regions. We extend the practice of processing international trade through a single window and achieve nationwide integration of custom clearance procedures, the import of advanced technology equipment and imported parts and components will be increased to promote the balanced growth of foreign trade and accelerate industrial upgrade in China. We will make big moves to improve the environment for foreign investors. We revise the catalog for industry open and foreign investment and make service industries, manufacturing and mining more open to foreign investment. We will encourage foreign invested firms to be listed and issued bonds in China, allow them to take part in national science and technological projects. Foreign firms will be treated the same as domestic firms when it comes to license appreciation, standard setting, and government procurement, and will enjoy the same provincial policies under the Made in China 2025 initiative. Local governments can, within the scope of the power granted by them by law, adopt preferential policies to attract foreign investment. We will build 11 high-standard, pilot-free trade zones and widely spread practices developed in these zones that are proved to work. Will guide the sound and standardized development of Chinese overseas investment and increase the ability of Chinese companies to hedge against risks. China's door is going to keep on opening wider, and China will keep working on to be the most attractive destination of foreign investment. We will promote the liberalization of facilitation of international trade and investment. Economic globalization is in the fundamental interest of all countries. China will not shift its commitment to promoting global economic operations, to uphold the multilateral trading regime as the main channel of international trade, and will play an active part in multilateral trade negotiations. China is ready to join hands with the other countries involved in fully putting into force and implement the protocol to amend the framework agreement on a comprehensive economic cooperation between China and ASEAN, to conclude talks as soon as possible for regional cooperation economic partnership agreement, and to advance development for the free trade areas in the Asian Pacific. We will continue to negotiate investment and trade investment with relevant countries. China is a responsible country. We have always given our honors to commitment we have made. We will firmly defend our due rights and interests.
7. Effectively strengthening environmental protection. Faster progress to improve the environment, particularly air quality, is what people are desperately hoping for and is critical to sustainable development. We must have well-designed policies, tackle both symptoms and root causes, and take tough steps to make the grade in responding to the people. We'll make our skies blue again. This year, we will see that SO2 and NO2 emissions are both cut by 3%, and in key areas, the PM 2.5 density will fall markedly. First, we'll work faster to address pollution caused by coal burning. We'll take comprehensive steps to reduce non-centralized coal burning operations, promote clean winter heating in the northern region, replace the use of coal with electricity and natural gas in more than 3 million households, and shut down all small coal-fired furnaces in established districts of cities at the prefecture level and above. We'll step up upgrading coal-fired power plants to achieve ultra-low emissions. Upgrading should be completed this year in the eastern region, next year in the central region, and by 2020 in the western region. We will improve our mechanisms and technologies, integrating renewable energy sources into the electric grid and effectively address wasted hydro, wind, and solar power generation capacities. We'll accelerate straw recycling. Second, we'll take measures to tackle the sources of pollution through focused actions to curb pollution in key industries. All key sources of industrial pollution will be placed under round-the-clock online monitoring. We'll set a clear deadline by which enterprises must meet required discharge standards and take resolute action to close down all those that still fail to meet the standards. Third, we'll control over exhaust emitted by motor vehicles and basically see that all higher emission vehicles are scrapped, work faster to take old vehicles off the roads, and have dedicated initiatives to deal with high emission vehicles, encourage the use of clean energy cars. We'll promote the use of fuels that meet the national 6 emission standards in key areas. Fourth, we'll take steps to tackle heavy air pollution. We'll strengthen research on the causes of smog to improve the scientific basis and precision of steps. We'll expand the coverage of mechanisms in key areas to ensure coordinated prevention and control efforts and emergency response measures. Fifth, we'll enforce environmental laws and regulations, conduct inspections, and hold violators accountable. Illegal dischargers will be severely penalized. Officials who do a poor job in enforcing the law, knowingly allow environmental violations, or respond inadequately will be held accountable. Tackling smog is down to every last one of us, and success depends on action and commitment. If the whole of our society keeps trying, we will have more and more blue skies with each passing year. Will strengthen the prevention and control of water and soil pollution. This year, chemical oxygen demand and ammonia and nitrogen emissions should both drop by 2%. Will effectively prevent water pollution in key drainage basins and agricultural pollution from non-point resources. Will undertake rigorous investigations on soil pollution and implement category-based measures to tackle this problem. Will take comprehensive measures to improve both urban and rural environments and promote waste sorting. Will strengthen energy conservation and environmental protection industries to ensure both environmental improvement and economic growth. Will move forward with ecological conservation and improvement. Will set red lines for ecological conservation and hold firm to these lines. Will begin pilot projects to improve the quality of our forests and restore ecosystems along the Yangtze economic belt, and launch the second group of trial projects to conserve the ecosystems of mountains, forests, farmland, rivers, and lakes. Will turn more than 800,000 hectares of marginal farmland into forests or grassland. This will enable us to accumulate more ecological wealth and build a green Great Wall of sustainable development. Eight, promoting social development to ensure and improve the well-being of our people. The well-being of the people is at the center of governance. It must be always on our minds, and the responsibility for it must never leave our shoulders. Against the backdrop of challenging and complex environments both at home and abroad, it is all the more imperative that we prioritize to ensure and improve the well-being, spare no effort to deliver benefit to them, and ensure their basic living needs are met. Will strive to boost employment and business startups. Will improve employment policy, strengthen employment training, and increase support for flexible employment and new forms of employment. This year, 7.95 million students will graduate from college, the highest number on record. We need to effectively implement initiatives to promote their employment and guide them in starting businesses, to encourage them to work at the community level, providing them with multiple channels to find jobs. We'll see that demobilized military personnel are settled into new jobs, and step up assistance to help vulnerable urban residents and people with disabilities find employment. And in every family currently with zero employment, at least one member secures a job. Employment is crucial. We will focus on facilitating employment to see that through their hard work, people can create wealth and realize their full potential. We'll work to ensure that our people have access to equitable and quality education. We'll combine the separate policies for rural and urban students receiving compulsory education that waive tuition and miscellaneous fees, supply free textbooks, and grant living allowances. We'll make compulsory education accessible as a public service. We'll improve the household registration system and continue to improve conditions in badly built and poorly operated schools. We will expand the reach of quality educational resources so as to narrow the gap in the quality of education and expand the enrollment of students from poor rural areas as key colleges. Will increase government grants for PhD students and develop more world-class universities and first-class fields of discipline. We will pilot comprehensive reform of college entrance examination, accelerate modern vocational education development, ensure ethnic minorities improve their education, and ensure that we have good special needs education, continuing education, preschool education, and education for senior citizens. The Modernizing Chinese Education 2030 initiative will be developed. We'll develop education that satisfies the needs of our people, make the modernization of education underpin the modernization of our country, and see that the children could realize their dreams. We'll make continued progress in building a healthy China. We'll increase both government subsidies for basic health insurance for rural and non-working urban residents from 420 to 450 yuan per person per annum and personal contributions, and we'll expand the scope of this insurance to cover more medicines. We will build a nationwide information network for basic healthcare system, so that healthcare costs can be settled directly where incurred. And we will improve the major disease insurance system, and we will launch nationwide trials to establish partnerships of different forms between medical institutions operating at different levels. All municipal level hospitals will be expected to play a leading role. We'll establish performance evaluation and incentive mechanisms that encourage the coordinated use of quality medical resources to improve the quality and capacity of the community hospitals and convenience in people by enabling access to medical services. And we will extend trials to use a tiered diagnosis and treatment model to cover over 85% of prefecture-level cities. And we will increase government subsidies for funding basic public health services. We will work to ensure that medical practitioners remain motivated and interactions between doctor and patient are amicable. As the policy of allowing couples to have 2 children has been adopted, we'll strengthen our maternity, medical, and healthcare services. We'll support traditional Chinese medicine and ethnic minority medicine. The safety of food and medicine is important to the health of our people, and therefore demands regulation of the utmost rigor. With this in mind, we'll improve the system and mechanisms and strengthen regulatory agencies on the ground. We'll ensure that responsibilities are fully assumed, and we'll exercise regulation that starts with the source, place equal emphasis on regulation over production and management, and see that serious violations are severely penalized. We'll weave a strong safety net to ensure people's well-being. We'll raise basic pension payments and see that they are paid on time and in full. Standards for benefits for entitled groups and social assistance benefits will be raised, and emergency aid system will be implemented. We'll adjust the natural disaster subsidy mechanism and finish the rebuilding of all houses damaged during flooding last year. We'll strengthen efforts to ensure the care and protection of children who are left behind in rural areas. And we will support the children living in difficult conditions in rural and urban areas. We'll care and provide assistance to elderly widows and bachelors without children. We will encourage the full coverage in providing living allowances for people with disabilities. And county-level governments must put in place coordination mechanisms for meeting people's most basic needs to make sure that there is social cushion in place. And we will take steps to resolve the problem of wage arrears for migrant workers, never allowing their hard work to go unpaid. We'll develop cultural programs and industries. Will foster stronger observation of socialist culture and ethical standards, use China Dream and core socialist values to build consensus and pull energy. We'll work to ensure that philosophy, social sciences, art, and literature thrive, and promote development of the press, publishing, radio, television, film, and archiving. We'll develop new types of think tanks. We'll see that China's cultural relics and intangible cultural heritage receive effective protection and playful roles. We'll foster a love of reading in all our people.
We'll make basic public cultural services more equitable. We will speed up our work to develop cultural industries and strengthen regulations of our cultural market. We'll support efforts to share China's culture with the other industries. We'll make full preparation for the 2022 Winter Olympic Games and Paralympic Games in Beijing. We'll promote consolidated development of recreational and competitive sports and sport industries and launch extensive fitness for all initiatives so that more people will enjoy sport and stay fit and healthy. When its people are healthy and optimistic, our country will certainly be full of vitality. We'll explore new forms of social governance. We'll improve the system of primary level self-governance and strengthen community governance in both urban and rural areas. We will see that trade unions, communist youth league organizations, women's federation, and other people's organizations play their role. We will reform and improve the system for overseeing social organizations, encourage sound and law-based public interest activities in charity, and promote specialized social work and volunteer services. The legitimate rights and interests of women, children, and elderly will be effectively protected. We will improve the social credit system and heighten public awareness of rule of law and and strengthen legal services. We'll enforce the responsibility system for handling public complaints and see that justified demands are addressed promptly and locally in accordance with the law. We will pursue the Peaceful China Initiative, improve the multidimensional IT-based crime prevention and control system, crack down hard on violence, terrorist activities, and punish organized crimes and common crimes like theft, robbery, and telecommunications and online fraud, thus upholding China's national security and social stability. We will see to that law is enforced in a strict, standardized, fair, and civil way, address permanent problems that endanger public safety, and take comprehensive measures to ensure the security of our people. We will ensure workplace safety and protect people's lives. We must work with tireless dedication to ensure workplace safety. We will strengthen development and safety infrastructure and ensure the quality of work related in seismology, meteorology, surveying, mapping, and geology to curb the occurrence of serious and major accidents and protect the lives and property of our people. We will enforce the workplace safety responsibility system and see that our responsibilities are fulfilled, namely the primary responsibility of the enterprise itself, regulatory responsibility of the government in the locality where the enterprise is located, and oversight responsibility of the relevant government department. 9. Strengthening the all-around development of government. We must uphold leadership by the party willingly maintain political integrity, think in big picture terms, uphold the leadership core, and keeping aligned. We should uphold the authority of the party central committee and the Comrade Xi Jinping's core, follow central committee in terms of thinking, political standard, and action, and speed up efforts to transform government functions, improve government performance so as to deliver better services to the people. We continue to work to see that government functions are fully carried out in accordance with the law. Government of all levels should meet every requirement for fully advancing China's law-based governance. We must hold the rule of law at high esteem, we must hold the law in reverie, and we must conduct our work in accordance with the law. We will make government operations more transparent. We ensure that policy are made in sound and democratic way in the basis of law, and we will solicit input and criticism from all interest parties on policy making. We all levels of government must subject ourselves and as required by law, to oversight by the People's Congress and their standing committee at the corresponding levels to democratic oversight of CPPCC committee. And we should solicit input from all deputies of People's Congress, members of CPPCC committees, and as a government of the people, all our work must reflect their will, safeguard their interests, and be placed under their oversight. We will maintain ethical conduct and moral integrity of all times. We will continue to make every effort to fully strengthen party self-governance, improve party conduct and moral integrity, and effectively combat corruption. We will act with firm resolve to implement the Party Central Committee's 8-point decision on improving party and government conduct, and make continued effort to correct formalism, bureaucratism, hedonism, and extravagance. We will strengthen administrative supervision and auditing-based oversight. We will continue to maintain a tough stand against corruption. With the focus in areas, we will conduct a full investigation into and punish corruption and other forms of misconduct that undermine people's interest. We perform with a strong work ethic, sense of responsibility, and enterprising spirit. China's remarkable achievement in reform and development are the work of officials and the people. The only way to make new achievement is more hard work. Government at all levels and all government employees must make it a priority to get things done. In performing duties, we should work hard in a down-to-earth way and should be innovative as actual conditions allow. Implementing decisions made at the meetings of high-level authorities and contain the documents they issue not mean just holding more meetings and issuing more documents. It is no good just push papers and pay lip service. We need to keep both central government and local governments fully motivated and encourage local government to work according to local circumstances and be adventurous in their explorations, so that together we are all promoting sustainable balanced development. We strictly enforce the responsibility system, particularly those for implementing key stacks. We must see responsibility are fulfilled without fail, the pressure is felt at every level of government, and that implementation is carried out in the letter. We strengthen oversight and accountability. We will take steps to address incompetence in area and negligence. We will improve mechanisms that give incentive and follow for the address mistakes, so as to support those who are dedicated to their work and stand behind those who live up to their responsibility. Esteemed deputies, China is a unified country of many ethnic groups. We
要坚持
will
和完
uphold
善
and improve the
民族
system of
区域
regional
自治
ethnic autonomy,
认真贯彻
fully
党的民族
implement
政
the
策
party's policy
深入开展
concerning ethnic
民族
groups,
团结
and
进步创建
intensify efforts to foster
组织好
ethnic unity and
内蒙古
progress.
自治
We'll
区
make sure
成立
celebration to mark the
70周年
70th anniversary of the founding of the
加大
Inner
对
Mongolia
民族地
Autonomous
区
Region
发展
are a great
支持
success.
力
We increase support for
深入
development in
实
areas
施
inhabited
新
mainly
边
by
富
ethnic
民行动
minorities. We deepen
保护和
efforts
发
to
展
boost development in
少
the
数
border
民族
region
优
benefits
秀
the
传
people
统文
living
化
there.
扶
We'll
持
protect and
人
develop
口
the fine
较少
traditional
民族
cultures
发
of
展
ethnic
推
minorities
动
and support the
各族人
growth
民
of ethnic
在
groups with
全
smaller
面建
smaller
成小康社
populations.
会进
We
程中
encourage people of all
实现
China's
共
ethnic
同
groups
发
to
展
develop
繁荣
together and thrive
各民
together
族
in a course
和睦
finishing
相
and
处
building society
合
that
舟
is
共济
moderately
和谐发展
prosperous in all
中
aspects.
华民族大家
With
庭
people
必
of
将
all ethnic
更
groups
加
living together,
幸
friendship,
福安
sharing
康
a common cause, and developing a harmony, the big family of the Chinese nation will enjoy more happiness.
我们要全面
We will fully
贯彻党
implement the
的
party's
宗教
fundamental
工作方针
policy on religion,
依法管理
manage
宗教
religious
事务
affairs in
促
accordance
进
with law,
宗教
promote
关系和谐
harmonious
发挥
relations
宗
between
教委人
religions,
士
and
和
encourage
信教
religious
群
leaders
众
and
在
believers
促
to
进经济社
actively
会发
involve
展工作
themselves in
积极
promoting
作用
economic and
我们
social
要认真
development. We will
落实
fully implement
侨务
government
准则
policies related
保
to
障
overseas Chinese
海外侨
nationals,
胞和
protect the legitimate
归侨
right
侨
of
眷
interest
合
of
法权益
overseas Chinese
充
nationals,
分发挥
Chinese
他们的
nationals who
独
have
特优
returned
势
from
和
overseas
重
and
大作
relative
用
overseas
排
Chinese
列化
nationals
中华儿
who
女的
resident in
凝聚
China,
力
ensure
和
that they
向
can
心
all
力
give full play to their
必
unique
将
strength and
不
perform
断
their
增强
important roles. I'm confident that all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation, both in and
各
outside
位代表
China, will forge stronger
过
bonds
去一
of
年
attachment.
国防
Esteemed
和
deputies,
军队改
last
革
year
取
we
得
achieved major
重大突破
breakthroughs in the form of
军
national
队
defense
革命
and
化
armed force
现代
and
化
made fresh
正规化
progress
建设
and new achievement in
取
our
得
work to make the
新进
military
展
more
新成
revolutionary,
绩
modern, and well
新的
structured.
一年
This year,
我们要继
in
续坚
pursuit
持
the party's
以党
goal
在
of
新形势上
strengthening the armed
强
force
军
in
目
new
标
era,
为引
we will work
推
to
进
build
政治建
them
立
through political
改革
work,
强军
strengthen them through
依法
reform,
治军
and
强
ensure
化
that they are run
练
by
兵备
law.
战
We will boost
坚
military
决
training
有
and
效维护
preparedness
国家
so as to
主权
ensure that the
安全
sovereignty,
发
security,
展
and
利益
development interests
坚
of
持
China are
党对军队
resolutely
的
and
绝
effectively
对领导
safeguarded.
维
We
护
uphold the
和
party's
贯彻
absolute leadership
军委
over
主
the
席
armed force
负责
and
制定
uphold and implement a
持
system
续深
whereby
化
the chairman of the
国
Central
防
Military
和军队
Commission
感
assume overall
强
responsibility
化
over military affairs.
海空
We will
边
continue to
防
deepen
管控
reforms in national
周
defense
密
and
组
the
织
armed forces.
反恐维稳
We
国际维
strengthen
和
maritime and air defense
沿
as
海
well as
护
other
航
border
的
control,
重
ensure
要
that important
提高
operation related
国
to
防
countering
科
terrorism,
技自主
safeguarding
创新能力
stability, international
加快
peacekeeping, and provide
现代后
escort
勤
in
建
high
设
seas as
和
well as
装备发展
organized. We enhance our
加
capacity for
强
innovation
国防
and
动员
defense
和
related
后备力
science
量
and technology and step
促
up the
进经
development
济
of
建设
advanced
和
logistics
国防
and
建设
equipment.
协调
We will continue to
平衡
promote
兼
coordinated,
容化
balanced, and
深化
compatible development of the
国防
economy and national
科技
defense,
工业体制
deepen structural reform and
推
defense-related
动
science and
军民
technology
融合
industries, and
深度
intensify
发
military
展
civilian
各
integration.
级政府
We're at the level
要
of
以更加
government
扎
should
实
take
有
more
力的举
solid
措
and vigorous steps
支持
to support the
国
reform
防和
and
军队改革
development
建
of
设
our national defense and
让
armed forces.
军政
We should
军
see
民
that the
团
tree
结
of
之树
unity between the
根深
military and the government,
枝繁
between the military and the
叶茂
people, continue to grow deep roots and is always in blossom.
各位代表
Esteemed deputies, we'll continue to
继续全面
implement
贯彻
both to the letter and in spirit the principle of one country, two systems, under which the people of Hong Kong govern Hong Kong and the people of Macau, and both regions enjoy a high degree of autonomy. We'll continue to act in strict compliance with China's constitution and the basic law of the Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions. And we'll ensure that the principle of one country, two systems is steadfastly applied in Hong Kong and Macau without being bent or distorted. We pledge our full support to the chief executive and government of the two regions in exercising law-based governance, growing their economies, improving people's well-being, advancing democracy, and promoting social harmony. The notion of Hong Kong independence will lead nowhere. We will promote closer cooperation between the mainland and Hong Kong and Macau. We will draw up a plan for the development of a city cluster of a Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Center Bay Area, give full play to the distinctive strength of Hong Kong and Macau, and elevate their positions and roles in China's economic development and opening up. We have always had full confidence about ensuring lasting prosperity and stability in Hong Kong and Macau.
will thoroughly implement the policies related to Taiwan, uphold the One China principle, and safeguard the 1992 consensus as our common political foundation. Will protect China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, maintain the peaceful growth of cross-strait relations, and safeguard peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. We will oppose and contain separatist activities for Taiwan independence. We will never tolerate any activity in any form or name which attempts to separate Taiwan from the motherland. Will continue to advance integrated economic and social development between the two sides of the straits and make it more convenient for our fellow countrymen and women in Taiwan, particularly young people, to study, work, and live on the mainland. People on both sides of the Taiwan Straits should keep in mind the greater interests of the nation, advance peaceful reunification of China, and jointly create better lives and a bright future for all Chinese. Esteemed deputies, in the face of profound changes in the international political and economic landscape, China will always stand on the side of peace and stability. China will forever be committed to equity and justice, and will always work for world peace, contribute to global development, and uphold the international order. We will keep to the path of peaceful development, firmly uphold the authority of the multilateral architecture, and see that it works effectively, will oppose protectionism in its different forms, become more involved in global governance, and steer economic globalization to see it become more inclusive, mutually beneficial, and equitable. Will contribute to a framework that ensures the overall stability and balanced development of relations between major countries. Will endeavor to foster a neighboring environment that enhances mutual trust and common development, have great cooperation with all other developing countries in all fields, and offer constructive proposals for addressing global and regional hotspot issues. Will intensify efforts to improve our mechanisms and capacity for protecting China's rights and interests overseas. China is ready to join hands with the international community and build a new type of international relations based on cooperation and mutual benefits, and make new contributions to building a community of common destiny for all humankind. Esteemed deputies, a new historical mission awaits us, and with hard work, we'll achieve great success. We'll rally even closer around the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and work hard with one mind and an enterprising spirit to fulfill this year's economic and social development tasks and targets. Let us work with tireless dedication to achieve the two centenary goals: build China into a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and realize the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation.